Hello, happy Monday to you. Hopefully you're getting after it, staying motivated, staying hungry on this Monday. I know that's easier said than done sometimes, particularly on a Monday. But I think when it comes to motivation for any activity across the board, particularly when it comes to health and fitness, I think that deeper level source of motivation is what's really going to be a good predicator of long-term change. So those more shallow forms of motivation, be it vanity or something like that, they could last for a little while. They could get you by for a little while, enough to maybe get beach ready, to look good for a beach vacation or whatever it may be, fit in your wedding dress, something like that. I think that vanity is often the source of these goals when it comes to health and fitness. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's sort of, that's a characteristic of humans, and so it is what it is. And even for me, early on, starting off, I think vanity was a major driving force, because when I first started lifting weights, just seeing a little bit of that change, a little bit of those results, and some of the feedback that came with that, it was enough to keep me going for a while. But when it comes to long-term maintenance of a certain activity, whether that be nutrition or a physical activity, or again, something completely different, I think there has to be a switch that's flipped there. There has to be something more deep-rooted that gets you to that point where you make a real decision to change, when you really, really want to change. Because if you don't really want to change, you're not going to do it. A lot of people say they want to get in shape, but do you really want to? Do you know what it takes to really be able to do that? Or to accomplish any goal, really? There has to be a deeper level of motivation. And hopefully it's not, some negative life-changing event or a diagnosis, something like that. Something happened that changes your mode of thought and gets you to really be motivated. But oftentimes it is. Sometimes it does take something large like that as really a wake-up call to make you realize that you do want to change. And when it comes to the literature, when it comes to the evidence out there, we really show that people who, particularly when it comes to physical activity, behavior, exercise, the people who are consistent, that get to that long-term maintenance phase, it often takes 15, 20 years to even be in that phase. Whereas even being consistent for 5, 10 years, more often than not, there's something that happens, a life-changing event, something to where it can derail people. So those people who really hit that long-term maintenance phase of 15, 20 years of practicing something, those people are outliers. Those people have hit that deeper level of motivation. And I think for me, I've been pretty consistent for over a decade, but vanity alone was not enough to get to that point. I think for me, being exposed to what's out there, all the information at hand when it comes to risk of diseases and health risks, long terms, and their associations, I think fear was a driving force, really. Fear of getting old, fear of getting old in the way that we stereotype getting old, right? So just being elderly, frail, just kind of hobbling around, very limited in your mobility. I was afraid of that. I am afraid of that. When you think about it, I don't want to be that way. You see some of these outliers, this jacked grandpa doing pull-ups, shredded, yeah, I want that to be me. I want to be talking shit to the young bucks. Hey, you're crap, buddy. You can't do more pull-ups than this old man? Come on. I mean, really, so I think it maybe started as fear and then turned into to an approach that was, just wanting to live an overall higher quality of life, particularly going into that older age, getting older. It sucks getting older. And when you think about it, you think, ideally when you get to that point that you can change your habits, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to exercise, but when are you going to start those habits? is it just going to happen overnight? You just, oh yeah, I'll get to, you know, age 50 and start taking care of myself, or whenever. I mean, if you don't start sooner than later, you don't have a shot in hell at long-term maintenance in anything, you know, in anything across the board. You know, if you have goals in some category, the best time to get started, maybe 10 years ago. Second best time is right now. But do you really want change? Do you really want to change? What is your reason? What is your deeper level of reason? And I've had people already reaching out to me for some of this content and asking for help, this and that, and I'm happy to help anybody out, or if I can, to offer up, you know, whatever I can. But ultimately, it's going to come down to you. Do you really want to change? What is your reasoning? Is it your kids? You know, do you want to be able to run around with them and keep up with them? Is it your health? You know, was it a diagnosis or something big, life-changing that makes you see it now? Hopefully not, but sometimes, like I said, it's often the case that it takes something like that to make us change our mode of thought. So, you know, I don't want to go to the gym all the time. Like, it's hard. Sometimes just getting in there, you know, I'll sit in the parking lot sometimes and just mentally have to push through to get in there. But for me, you know, when I think about what it is, what's the formula? Joe Rogan coined the phrase, conquer your inner bitch. And what does that mean? So your inner bitch is this mode of thought. It's this little devil on your shoulder that is telling you not to work out. It's the same mode of thought. It's the same voice in your head saying, oh, it's supposed to be leg day. Let's call an audible to arm day. Bro, you've done arms 3 times this week, all right? You look ridiculous. You got to train your legs. Nobody wants to see that, all right? You're jacked up top and you got these scrawny, decrepit legs. It's not happening, all right? Get in there and squat, all right? Stop being crap. Get in there, all right? That's that voice. That's that inner bitch. So I think the formula, when it comes down to it, you have to win that battle more often than not, okay? So it just becomes sort of subconscious. It's just something you do. You don't really have to think about it that much. Yeah, on the way there, or it might take a little longer to get that little bit of spark to go do it. But unless there's really a good reason to avoid it or to do something else, then I'm going. That's all it is. I mean, and you just have to find what works for you. But I think it has to be that deeper level of motivation, or it's just not going to happen long term. It's just not. So if you can conquer your inner bitch more often than not, more often than it conquers you, you know, that might be a dumbed down version, but ultimately that's the formula. It just has to be second nature. It just has to be pretty automatic. So you have to figure out what it is for you. What do you want to change? Do you really want to change, and why? And it has to be, I think, deeper for that real long-term change to take place. So I'm gonna quit with the rambling. Get out there today and conquer your inner bitch on this Monday, and I'll talk to you soon.